You're listening to the Mind Flipping Podcast, where you'll find tools and tips to help you renovate and update your mind and life.
Freddie, thanks so much for being on the Mind Flipping Podcast.
My pleasure. Good to meet you and good to see you.
Yes. Yep. I've been looking forward to having you. You are very well known in the hypnotherapy, hypnosis industry. And as our regular listeners know, that's just one part of the many fields that we talk about, whether it's hypnosis or meditation or NLP, coaching, neuroscience. And really the work you do, I know, is a little bit of all of those. When you're out and about, maybe at a dinner party or not with somebody in your field, what do you say that you do for a living?
I like to think I change beliefs. That would be the bottom line, if you like. You know, people come into my office believing they can't do something. Hopefully, within that bit of time we have together, they go out believing they can. Well, they can see a way that they can. So that really, it's the bottom line. I think it's the same for in all fields, you know, whether it's all the things you mentioned, NLP, hypnotherapy, coaching. Ultimately, you're getting people to believe something more about themselves or let go of a limiting belief. So that's how I see it, really.
That makes sense. You know, in preparing for our chat, I was looking at your website and your bio and your background, and there's something on there that it was related to that, but about bringing freedom to people. And I thought in many ways, like you and a lot of my guests were like freedom fighters.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, you know, freeing, you know, our clients or those we work with from their limiting beliefs and helping them, whether it's release or build and establish new ones.
I've just opened a little, it's on the high street of my little town, an office. And I've called it the Changing Room, which seems a strange title for a therapy place. But that's the name of the place, the Changing Room. Changing minds, you know, just that's how I see it. Changing lives by changing minds. So changing belief.
Yeah. I saw the picture of it. It looks great.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed. Yeah, I'm really pleased with the way it looks. Yeah. So
Very
yeah,
nice.
I hope to change a few people's lives in there. You know, it's well, I love this work. You know, I can't ever see a time when I won't want to be doing it. And what I've said, and the joy of it, doing hypnosis or doing what we do, as I've said, they can wheel me into a room and I can speak. I can do this work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the joy of it. And I used to say anywhere in the English-speaking world, but now, you know, with the technology they've got, we went, and my son Anthony and I have run some courses in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Rio, Belo Horizonte, and they've had these simultaneous interpreters there. There are two guys at the back of the room in a booth. Every student, 150 students, can't speak English. They've got these headphones on, and as we speak, these interpreters speak. It's like an echo in English, and it works perfectly. And one of the guys, you may have heard of him, his name's Cesar Mello, I think his name is.
Okay.
Just by interpreting what we do, he can now do brilliant hypnosis work. You know, he's got the tone, he's got the pace, he's got everything. So he's great. Yeah, so it's marvelous what we can do now.
That's awesome.
And doing it on Zoom as well.
On Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing. This week I've had clients from San Diego, someone from Florida, someone from Israel. So, you know, the world's open right up now with this technology. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. Yeah. That you and I can talk, that we can meet in this way and share our experience and failures and
yeah, until Zoom and Skype at the moment, maybe, you know, with the stuff you do, one day it'll just be telepathic. We'll just converse. I'll think of something, you'll know what I'm thinking, and we won't have to have any of this technology. That'll be the day.
I like your thinking. I can see it happening. So that's really fascinating, the whole interpretation. Have you had Zoom sessions where there was an interpreter?
No, I haven't done that yet. No.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, you know, that's way down the road, I think.
Yeah.
Most people contact me, speak English.
Yeah.
So I haven't had one with an interpreter. It's nothing to say you wouldn't have one. As I say, what we did when we were in Brazil, we went out on the street, which of course we didn't have the headphones and stuff. But Cesar just stood next to the subject and was just as we were doing it, hypnotising people in the street. So yeah, there's nothing to say that on Zoom you can't have a simultaneous interpreter sitting next to you, and then the world's open, you know, and it's words, it's imagination, it's phenomenal what you can do.
Yeah, it
To
is.
take someone out of pain. I run these pain seminars once a month. I run for 3 months now. We've had over 300 people on Zoom. It's a free seminar. I'll explain why in a bit, but I've made a decision never to this is a personal decision. I'm not saying any other therapist should do it, but I've made a decision never to charge anyone to help them out of their pain.
Wow.
Just a personal decision. You know, there's enough people who are smoking themselves to death and eating themselves to death and scaring themselves to death to, you know, to support my lifestyle. I live on the coast here. It's not a bad way of living. It's just a decision. You know, I'm never going to charge. So my goal on those seminars, because I've now opened it up so I can get 500 people in one of those seminars, it's just to help as many people as possible. And it's just a joy to be doing that. When you see a symptom scale, there's two things I symptom scale. One's pain, one's fear. And the reason I do that is because we remember being in pain, but you can't remember what it felt like. It's just one of those natural things in our mind. We can remember being afraid, but we can't remember what that fear felt like. So I symptom scale those two things on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being no pain at all. Where is it at? And the people on Zoom, in the chat box, they put a number, 8, 9, 7, 6, you see it. And after we've done it, immediately we've done it, I say, measure that pain now. And the zeros keep coming up. And it's just amazing to see it.
Wow.
Considering it's just words, it's just our imagination. But the power, as you know, because you're doing this work, the power of your mind over your body, it's immense. Yeah, it's great work.
Yeah, it's so cool. Well, you said something that resonated with me when I got into this field. I thought, yeah, this is something that should I choose, I can do forever, as long as I can speak and communicate in some way, you know, and, you know, have somebody that can understand me. And again, their part in it is using their imagination. And that's so powerful.
And as you know, it's not all about the words we say. There's a few things I do, and whether it's true, whether it works or not, it's just something I do. And when I train people and we run our courses at Jacquin Hypnosis Academy, and one of the things I say to my students is this: run this loop in your mind when you're working with people. It's a simple loop. I care about you. I want you to be well. Just sort of run that in your mind, hold it in your heart. Sometimes I'll say it if I think it's appropriate, but I'll always feel it. And I just think that transfers across. I'll tell you a story about, I run these groups for smoking, up to 200 people at a time. So rooms full of 200 smokers, hypnotize them all in a block, and we do this quit smoking stuff. And some years ago, I was running one, and so there was maybe 350 people, so we had to open another night. And on the second night, a man turned up with his wife. His wife had come the day before and quit smoking. And he looked like, I can only describe him as a poor man's Michael Caine. He had a white Macintosh on and a pair of thick black glasses and a blonde dyed hair. And he sat at the back. I watched him and he was just reading the paper. He wasn't interested. And afterwards he said, look, I can see this, 200 people, £65 a time, an hour and a half. I can see this is a good business. And this is what he said to me. So I'm not interested in helping people. Just teach me the words and the music and I'll go and do it. And I said, you're missing the point. Now, if you're there and all you're thinking about is how much money you're earning, I believe you're not going to be effective, because I believe they'll know that.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel, and I just think if you're going to be in this business, care, and, hold it in your heart. So that's just what I say to my students. It's just one of those things. I think you're more effective, because why would you be in this business and not feel that anyway? So just hold that in your heart. I care about you. I want you to be well.
Yeah, I think when we've been in this business for a while, we run across people that we have a sense that perhaps they're like that Michael Caine lookalike, where they got into it for the money. Not that there's a whole ton of money in it, unless you stay at it for a while and are good. But we know they won't last.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going for the money, you're going into the wrong business. Because The thing for me, and I say it to my son, I want my clients to, if I see a smoker, I want them going out of that room free of the smoking habit. If they're coming with a fear, I want them going out without that fear. So I tend to see people once, and it's a terrible business model.
Yeah.
If you're a therapist, say if you're a poor therapist, you make more money because you're going to see people over a period of time. I used to say, and it was a stupid thing to say when I first started, when they left the room, a smoker or someone with fear, I used to shake them and I used to say, I hope I never see you again. And they'd laugh because they know what I meant.
Yeah.
But it's not a good business model. I think I try it to work with, I say, look, when you've quit smoking, you'll probably think, what else is there that I could change? And if that's the case, give me a call and we can work on other things.
Yeah.
And work more holistically, if you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not, if you're coming in for the money, I don't know, as I said, but for me, I think what happens, I know it's happened for me, is that my life is so sweet. I definitely have not got a lot of money, but I've got an old sports car. When the sun shines, the roof goes down. If I could show you, if it was daytime, you could look out my window, you could see the sea. I don't know how this happened to me really, because I really had no education, but I seem to have ended up, and I think that's because I love what I do. And I think if you love what you do, I think you'll always be all right. And if you do your best work, do your utmost for your clients, even if you're not filthy rich, you go to bed every night, you put your head on your pillow, go to sleep. That's what I think.
I agree. So which sea are you looking at? Where are you located in the world?
North Sea. Yeah, I wish I could show you. But yeah, it's a beautiful view. Because I'm on the East Coast, I see the sun come up.
On the East Coast of the United Kingdom.
It's not, when I say the East Coast, it's not like California.
Yeah.
It's about -2. It's the North Sea. It's not the, what is it off the coast of California? It's the Pacific, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's not quite the Pacific, it's the North Sea.
Right.
You
So
go
for
there
us,
for more than 2 minutes, you don't come out. Unless you're really well protected.
that's like
But it's a beautiful view and it's a beautiful place. So yeah, I'm lucky.
That's like my part of the world. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, north of Chicago. We have a big Lake Michigan. It's like an ocean,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't want to go in at this time of year.
No, it's pretty cold there in Chicago at times, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. We just had like 3 inches of snow yesterday. So.
Oh, right, yeah.
So for us, geographically challenged, you're on the east side of the United Kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So on the coast, Yorkshire.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said something I think is that a lot of us that have been in the business can resonate, that it is beyond words. And one of the things that I try to share with the majority of my clients is in kind of the very beginning of my pre-talk is that I tell them that no matter what they're here for, I view them in a positive light, and that before I even knew who they were or what they looked like, I saw their issues, challenges as being resolved, and I think.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably from work. The person that I've studied most, not that I've studied many people, but whose work I've looked at a lot, is Milton Erickson. And so I start, and I say to my students as well, I start with the belief that the only person in my therapy room that has the answer to the problem, the strength and resources to overcome that problem, is the person in the therapy chair, not in my chair. And so with that understanding is what you're saying. If you hold that, all I need to do then is really get them out of their own way. Get them in touch with their own abilities, their own strengths, their own understanding. And they bring that to bear. And I think that's why we can be very effective very quickly as hypnotherapists. If you get over the thought that you have to come up with a strategy, that you have to come up with a solution, once you've got past that and believe that the client itself has that ability, and all you're going to do, as I said, is change a belief. What I believe hypnosis does, this is how I believe it works, is that it gives us, the hypnotist, the operator, access, or gives us the ability to help our clients get access to the underlying programming that's going on. If you think about most of the things we have problems, they're habitual, smoking, eating too much. You could say the same thing about fears and phobias. And like with everything we learn, this is how I explain to my clients. Once it's learned to the point where it becomes an automatic function, something we can do without thinking, at that point, we no longer have conscious control over it. It would be like saying, I want you to forget how to walk or talk. To say to someone who's smoking 30 cigarettes a day, I want you to just forget to stop smoking. It would be like saying, I want you to just forget how to walk or forget how to drive, forget how to speak. They say, well, it's no longer something to think about, it's something I just do.
Right.
And I say to my clients, I say, I have clients who smoke 30 cigarettes a day for 30 years, every day. And I say it's an incredible feat to try and remember to do something 30 times a day, every single day for 30 years without fail. That's an incredible feat. You couldn't do that consciously.
Right.
At some point, probably as a teenager, you went, this is really important to me. Remind me to have 20 cigarettes a day. And the moment you hand that job over, you create that part that's running that program. With fears and phobias, it's either a one-stop learning or it's learned from a parent or teacher. And it's the same thing. And my son Anthony, he ran this thing called AI, automatic imagination, with a business partner. And they believe they could get the same effect as hypnosis with AI without using the word hypnosis. And the idea was you'd put your hand on your leg or the table and you say to the person, well, in fact, you can do it now. Put your hand on the table and look at the back of your hand. Just look at the back of your hand. Can you imagine that your hand's sticking to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that's happening automatically? Now imagine you forgot you're imagining and try and lift it and see what happens. Yeah, the moment you forget you're only imagining something, to your mind and your body, it becomes real. And when we think about a fear or a phobia, they say we're only born with two wired fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. We're pre-wired with those two fears. But everything else is learned. And so I don't think we're born with a fear of dogs or cats or spiders. But if you're near a spider and you've got someone who's close to you that's afraid of dogs or spiders, you're going to pick that up. But at that point, you imagine that might hurt you. But it's still your imagination. At some point after that, it becomes automatic. You see a spider, you feel anxious. And at some point after that, you forget you only ever imagined it. And then it's real. Spiders are dangerous.
Right.
So once you do that and you remind someone it's just your imagination, you could do a piece of work just like that. And so, for me, none of this is complex. But I believe that's what hypnosis does. It just gives us access to that underlying programming so we can change it. I had a guy came to see me for smoking. He smoked 40 cigarettes a day. He did IT recruitment. So he's on the phone all day. So he came to see me and he quit. And he phoned me up a couple of weeks later and he said, you know what? He said, I never realized how much time I'd spent smoking. So I must have spent 2 hours a day just going outside and having a cigarette. I said, well, put it into your business. He said, I'll put another 2 hours a day in my business. I'll earn another 10 grand a month. I said, well, there you go. But when you say at the moment you've got a part of you that's reminding you to go outside and have a cigarette. What if it reminded you 40 times a day to pick that phone up again? Just found something else to do for you that's a benefit. It's just amazing what happens. And people go, well, I don't even know what it chose. I said, it doesn't matter. Right. I just haven't been thinking about a cigarette for the last 3 weeks. And I just think it's amazing. We've got some fabulous people in England, and I'm sure you've got them in the States as well, who are doing research on how hypnosis works. They look into it scientifically, and it's great. But not one of my clients, and I've seen over 30,000 clients personally, not one of them has said, how does this work?
Right.
They don't care.
Yep.
They just want to be without the fear. They want to be without the need to overeat. They want to be free of that anxiety or the stress. They want to feel confident, and they really don't care. And there was a bit of a discussion the other day about certificates, and I'm sure you've got quite a few on your wall. And I've been running. It started as the UK Hypnosis Training College in '99, and now it's the Jacquin Hypnosis Academy. And we do a diploma course, and we give out diplomas. When they first opened up in England, the first university college Bachelor of Science degree in clinical hypnosis, I did it. I've been doing this for 25 years then. And I did it. And to be honest with you, I could teach you more in a week than they taught you in 2 or 3 years on that course. But that being said, I've got the piece of paper. It's a really nice looking certificate, I'll tell you. It's beautiful. And I've now got a Bachelor of Science honours degree in clinical hypnosis. In all of those 30,000 clients, not one person's asked to see my qualifications.
Yep.
Not one. And so it's nice to have, and it's nice to do good training, and it's nice to keep learning. But really, they can keep looking into the science. It's like trying to figure out what electricity is and why it is.
Right.
Sometimes we just have to say things are beyond our description, beyond our
Understanding.
understanding. Yeah.
Well, you said 3 things that I think are valuable for students. You train, like I do, new students, and they have their own limiting beliefs or fears or concerns about getting into the field. But I think, first of all, knowing that the far 99.9% of our clients don't ask for certificates. And the other 2 things that they, and I give certificates like you do, but it's not important in a client's mind. And the other thing is, what we do is a trance dance. They're coming in that trance, and we help them get a different one. And so our role is just to kind of get out of the way, create space for them to imagine a new trance.
Well, that's what I've been saying for a while. I think I actually state it on my website. I'm, the trance eliminator. I believe everyone comes in already in trance, like you were saying. They're already in hypnosis. People say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm a good hypnotic subject." Well,
Yeah.
why are you doing that 10 times a day? If someone must have at some point convinced you that was a good thing to do. And so, for me, and sometimes it's as easy as that. I had a guy came to see me years ago, and he was only 23. He had a morbid fear of dying, to the point where he couldn't go to work. He hardly went out of his house. And I said, "When did it happen?" He said, "Well, a couple of years ago." He said, "I used to smoke a bit of weed." He said, "I like to drink a vodka." He said, "I went around to my girlfriend's house, and her father and I," he said, "we finished a bottle of vodka off." He said, "I smoked a load of weed. On the way, got home," he said, "I felt really ill, and I thought I was going to die." And so that was his self-suggestion. He was in a very altered state, and the self-suggestion, "I think I'm going to die." That stuck. That's no different to me saying to someone hypnotizing and saying, "You're stuck to the chair."
Right.
No, it's no difference. And most of it, some of it's self-suggestion, but it's coming at us all the time. And so I said to him, "Look," I said, "you've just been in a trance for 2 years, albeit a negative trance." And I said, "All I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to hypnotize you and put you in a trance. At some point, I'm going to count to 3. And you're going to come out of that negative trance you've been in for 2 years. And I'm going to leave you in a positive trance where you're going to be all right and you're going to be healthy. All right, get ready. 1, 2, 3. I said, you'll stay in that, eyes closed, stay in that trance. 1, 2, 3, you're out of that negative trance. It's never going to affect you again." Did a bit more work, brought him out of it. Well, I don't bring people out of hypnosis now, which is another thing. Maybe in the States, perhaps the laws are different. I don't know. But my attitude is people come in a negative trance. Why would they then work with them for an hour and a half? And at the end of it saying, wide awake back in a room, back to normal. Their normal was not very good. So now I never bring them out of trance. This is how I end my sessions now. I say on 8, your eyes will open, you feel incredible. Like a ton weight's been lifted. And on 10, that feeling of freedom and power is going to grow stronger day by day as you go about your life as a non-smoker, or as you lose weight automatically, or as you go about your life fearlessly. So I never actually say you're out. It's just 8, your eyes are open, and 10, you're going to feel incredible.
I like it.
And so that's how I work. And I'm assuming now there may be 20, 30,000 people still walking around in one of my trances out there and getting on with their lives. So yeah, it's just a different way of looking at it. Once you understand that, then you don't have to go into this, oh, how can I help this person? What can I do? And try and figure out the strategy. Because I assume they already know what to do. They have the power to overcome it. They have the resources. And all I've got to do is get them out of their own way. So they can get in touch with those resources. Sometimes I'll just say, you've been in a negative trance, I'm just going to count you out. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
I love that.
But yeah, I went to hospital last week because I had, in the past, I've had these kidney stones. And anyway, long story short, I had this bit of an ache in my side for a few days. And then on the last Friday, was it last Friday? Yeah, last Friday, I felt so ill. My wife said, I'm taking to A&E, which is ER in your place. And ER room or emergency room. The pain went off. But a guy sat next to me and he was obviously in agony because he couldn't sit still, and he getting up and walking around and holding his back and crying and moaning. And I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to have to offer this guy some help. She said, well, he's in A&E. He needs to see the doctor. So this went on for 20 minutes or so, and I heard him speaking to someone. And he was telling this someone next to him that his back had been caused when he was 12. He's 35 now. He said his back had been injured in a rugby accident. Someone kneed him in the back and he was paralysed for a week. And since then, he's had trouble with his back. And he's on these painkillers. And he's on the maximum amount of painkillers. So that had destroyed his stomach. And that was why he was in A&E, because of his stomach, not his back.
Wow.
So I listened to him talk to this guy next to me. And I said to him, look, I said, do you want some help? He looked at me because I was dressed in an old green coat. I hadn't shaved for a couple of days. He must have thought, who's this guy? Some lunatic sitting next to me. I said, I'm a hypnotist. I didn't say I was a hypnotherapist. I was a hypnotist. I said, let me show you something interesting. So all I did was I did a finger lock.
Yep.
Now he's blown away. This is sitting in a packed ER room. Did a finger lock. And I just said to him, in a moment, I'm going to touch your hand. You're going to feel an energy transfer from me, like your body's been flooded with the most incredible painkiller. And that pain's going to disappear from your body forever. Get ready. Poof. You went, wow. He said, I don't believe it. He said, it's just, I haven't got any pain. First time. And it took as long as it's just taken me to explain that to you.
Wow.
And my wife's sitting there, she's a nurse. And she's just sitting there like, this guy's getting, I said, I don't believe it. He's getting up, he's walking around, he's phoning his wife. He's saying, I just sat next to this nutcase. It's just taking his pain away from me. And I got him to do a video. It's on Facebook. And you can see by the look on his face, he's just bewildered. What happened? There was no long induction. There was no real technique. Just a direct suggestion that you won't feel that pain. And that's how powerful this is.
Yeah.
At the UK Hypnosis Convention this year, my 1 hour presentation it's titled Everyday Hypnosis That Anyone Can Do. You know, if someone's sitting at the airport and they're scared of getting on that plane, if you've got 5 minutes, could you up and get on that plane? If someone's in agony sitting next to you and that pain's of no use to them, can you in 5 minutes help that person? You know, if someone's anxious or afraid or going into an exam or an interview and they need more confidence, could you give them that in 5 minutes? And I believe that's what we can do with this tool. I believe I believe they should teach it in school. You know, ideally what would happen is when a kid gets to 16, they'd have to have an hour's hypnosis to clear out all the crap that they built up in the 16 years before. So they can go out into their university or college or go out to work with a completely clear, slate. All of the irrational fears and anxieties, all of their doubts, all their limiting beliefs. So they can just go, right, let's get on with our life. But it's never going to happen, I know, but it's a dream. Who knows?
I love your thinking. I'm with you. That'd be awesome. And we can do it one at a time, or 300 at a
one at a time. We can do it. And the joy of it is you can do this in groups.
Right.
In 2006, I saw 5,000 smokers.
That's fantastic. In group, all at one time?
No, 200 people at a time.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
200 people at a time. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I say with this Zoom now, as I say, pain control, we're getting hundreds of people on those Zoom seminars. It's free. It's just, I just love it.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. I know you've just mentioned, a couple of stories about smoking and pain and anxieties and different things, but I know you are known for pain, and you do these wonderful Zoom sessions for pain. And our listeners just heard that you don't take money for it. What brought you to that? And then what's the origin of the Aero technique?
The reason I don't charge for pain anymore, I live, as I said, on the northeast coast. I come from Kent, which is the south, which is, when I say the south, when you're thinking about America, it's hundreds of miles. This is 150 miles. You're on the coast, whichever way you go. And my mum lived in Kent. I get a call from her partner. That's about a 5-hour drive anyway. I get a call from her partner. This is back in October. And he told me she was in hospital and she was in a really bad way. So I drove down. And what had happened was her doctor had put her on some medication with a repeat prescription. But the doctor had forgotten to tell my mum that she was only going to take it for a month. So because it was on a repeat prescription, she'd taken it for 18 months. And it had destroyed her kidneys. So she was in kidney failure and she was in agony. And my mum's a really strong woman. She's got 7 kids. She's done all that stuff. She's not one to complain, but I drove down and I saw her and she could just move one hand. All she could move was her left hand. She was in so much pain. She was being bed bathed. She was being treated. And for my mum, she's a very, that for her was the worst case scenario, having to have someone do all that stuff for her. But anyway, I rarely use hypnosis on my family. It's one of those things, it feels like something is a bit awkward about working with your family. But she was in so much pain. I said, look, Mum, let me do this arrow with you. Let's see what we can do. So I did the arrow and I did what I call quantum healing, which we can talk about if you like. But around these two things, the whole thing takes 10 minutes tops. So she's in bed and she's now out of it. She's in trance, she's eyes closed. And so I just sat there with her while she was there. Then a nurse came in, made some noise and sort of woke her up. So anyway, I had to come back, so I had some work to do. So I had to drive back again that day. So I said goodbye to her and I left. The next morning, I get a call from her partner and to say that my mum's out of bed. She's pain-free and she's in the shower. This is a woman the day before. You'd have had to see it to see how miraculous that seemed to that hospital, to those nurses and those doctors.
That's awesome.
And she said to me when I was there, she said, I really don't think I'm going to come out for a long time. In fact, I didn't think she was going to come out of there at all. She looked so ill. But anyway, I was so pleased that my mum was free of pain. And I just thought, if I could do that for people, and if I couldn't do this myself, if I didn't have, it's not me, I say me that does this. I believe, as I said to you when we first started this conversation, I don't believe I do anything. I believe I help people get in touch with their own ability to overcome fear and pain.
Yeah.
So I just thought if I couldn't help people do that, and someone had done that for my mum, I'd have been so chuffed, so pleased. And I just made a decision there and then. I'm personally I'm never going to charge them to help them out of pain. If I can help them out of pain, I'm going to do it. And that's just that.
Wow.
And
So it's kind of a recent decision.
it was a recent decision. It was October.
Yeah.
You know, I still train people how to do this, and I still take money off people to train them to do the arrow.
Yeah.
And if they want to go out and make a living out of helping people in pain, that's perfectly well. You know, I have people who say, well, you could charge a fortune for what you do. People will pay fortunes to get out of pain, but I don't need a fortune. You know, I really don't. I mean, my life is, that's not who I am. You know, it's not, I don't place my value on how many pounds I got in the bank, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And when I get letters from people who say I've been out of pain for X amount of time and you help someone out of pain, in reality, what greater payment than to see someone that's been in agony for years out of their pain. So anyway, that was the decision. It's a long story. I then sent her an audio. She was very ill. I mean, she was ill. And anyway, she passed away in January.
I'm so
For
sorry.
those 3 months, she was pain free.
Mm.
And that for her was, and for me, was a massive thing. So
Wonderful.
like I said, it's a sad, but then that being said, and maybe maybe I think differently, but my mum was 88, and I tell you, she had a life. She absolutely lived it. Until she had that illness, if there was a wedding or a reception, she'd be the first on the dance floor, the last off the dance floor.
That sounds like a good life.
She lived it, yeah. And so, you know, I don't think she had any regrets. And if I get to 88 and I've lived my life like she lived it, I'll be quite grateful. So, and I think for all of us, the thing that we dread is dying in pain. And for my mum, she didn't, because because of the arrow. So as I said, for me, that's why I made that decision. The way the arrow came to me, which is the other question you asked me, how did I develop it? As I said, you know, I don't read a lot, but I read a lot about Erickson. And one of his stories, he tells a few stories about helping people out of pain. And he, you know, if you ask someone on the street what hypnosis is or hypnotherapy is, they'd probably say it's sleep or relaxation, because that's how most of the start of hypnotherapy sessions. Okay, you're ready to be hypnotized, close your eyes, take a breath in, allow your body to relax. You know, so to all intent and purpose, someone watching that, we know it's not sleep, but it looks like sleep, or it looks like deep relaxation. So I imagine a lot of hypnotherapists think that as well. I think that's what it's about. If you ask most hypnotherapists, if you're in a street or you're in a club or a bar, and you say to the hypnotherapist, can you hypnotize me standing up here in this bar? They probably go, no, you've got to be in my therapy room with a bit of whale music and, you know, some dim lights. And, so anyway, so if you ask people on the street what hypnosis is, they'd probably think it's relaxation or sleep, which is fine if it's a phobia or if it's a habit they come in with. But if someone's coming in and they're in chronic pain, and this is what Erickson understood, if you say to someone in chronic pain, I want you to just take a breath in and relax, that's not possible.
Right.
We know that part of driving someone into hypnosis is a focus of attention. You know, look at the light, look at a point at the back of your hand, you know, look into my eyes, whatever. We're going to focus their attention. So Erickson understood this. So he would use the pain itself as the focus of attention. I want you just for a moment to focus on that pain. Focus on the very hot spot, the very center of that pain. And as you focus on that pain, you listen to my voice and you blah, 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 blah. Both, they're in hypnosis. So he would use the focus of attention, the pain as the focus of attention. So I'd read this and it had been in my mind. As I said to you early on when I was talking about kidney stones, for years I've suffered these kidney stones, and it's apparently the worst pain a man can suffer. The only thing worse than that is childbirth. And as I say, luckily we can't experience it, or men anyway.
Yeah.
So when I was in that pain, before I got to the hospital, or when I was in the hospital waiting for some painkillers, pain relief, this is back before I knew how the arrow worked. My go-to way of distracting myself was to go to a memory. And there was a particular memory back in the early 90s. I drove down through France with a girlfriend, And she had a little Mazda sports car, one of the first MX-5s, I think it was. And we stopped on the way down to this place called Orbison on the side of the road. We had a picnic. And it was on a road with a big bank and a river at the bottom and a bridge that went over it. I can still picture it in my mind. And so when I'm in hospital or when I was in pain, I would go to that memory. And then I would try and think, what were the colour of her shorts? What was the number plate on her car? What was the beer we drank? What was the cheese? What did we eat? What did we? And the more I tried to dig into the detail of the memory, the more I had to search my memory for the detail, the further away I got from the pain.
Okay.
And I got to a point where I could get back into my body in that, so I feel what I felt then and look back to now, if you like. And when I got to that perspective, I could free myself from that pain. So these two things, this focus of attention on the pain itself and the disassociation, was in my mind. And I figured I could use both those things as a technique for pain, but I'd never tried it. And I was running a group for smoking down in Cardiff in Wales. I don't know, maybe 200 people in the room. And I came up with this thing. When I first started doing big groups, I'd never spoken to more than 3 or 4 people at a time. So, you know, that public speaking thing was a bit of a thing, especially when I say I'm going to hypnotize you and take all your smoking away. And it was maybe 70 people in the room. So I said to my wife, I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to see how many people I can remember as they come through the door. So I trained myself on handshake and give them their name to remember who they were. So it got to a point where I could remember maybe over 100 people's name as they walked through the door.
Wow.
So anyway, I saw these people, I was saying goodbye, you know, and that was, if you ever do a big group of people like that and you get to that point, it blows them away.
Yeah.
Because as they go out and say, bye Mary, bye Joe, bye, how do you remember my name? And you shake their hand and say goodbye to them. But anyway, as they're going out, I said to them, look, I'll be back in 6 weeks. If you know someone who wants to come and see me, other than for smoking, because you're all done, I'm going to be running therapy sessions through the day, and then a group smoking, a group weight loss in the evening. So a woman put her hand up. She said, do you do anything for pain? I hadn't, but I didn't say that. I said, yes. You do. So I said, who's it for? She said, it's for me. I said, well, don't wait 6 weeks. I said, stay in pain for 6 weeks. If you wait till after everyone's gone, I said, we'll work together. So with that, another girl who was on crutches, she said, can I stay? I said, of course you can. So I saw most of these people out, all the sort of clients out. There's a few people in the room that were helping me take the money, put the chairs out, all that kind of stuff. So maybe 8 or 9 people in the room. Myself, these 2 women. The woman on the crutches, she had her auntie there and her and her son who was 4 years old. The woman with the pain in her hip, she had her friend there. So a few people. But the woman on crutches said she had spondylosis, crumbling of the spine. And she'd been on crutches for 12 years. She's only in her 30s. But she'd been on crutches for 12 years. She's in agony. And the other woman, as I said, she had a pain in her hip. So I sat them down. I did what I now call the Jacquin power lift induction. They're both in, takes 2 or 3 minutes. They're in hypnosis. I ran what is now known as the arrow. I'd never run it before, but I ran it as if I'd done it 1,000 times, as you do. Nice. You know. The woman who had the crutches, her arm came down because she's now sitting like this. Her arms came down. She opened her eyes. I looked at her. I said, where's the pain gone now? She went, I haven't got any pain. With that, the other woman's hands came down. She opened her eyes. She starts crying. So I said, are you all right? She said, yeah. She said, but I haven't got any pain. I've been in pain for 9 years. I haven't got any pain. So the woman with the crutches stands up and she says, do you think I can walk without my crutches? I said, I'm not a medical person. She said, well, hold them. So I might be 6 or 7 feet away. So I'll take her crutches off her. She starts to walk sort of tentatively over towards me. And I said, are you in pain? She said, no. She said, but I haven't walked without crutches for 12 years. So she's got an MRI scan coming up. She think I ought to have it? I said, absolutely. I said, but it'd be nice to walk in there without any pain. She said, I will. And I swear to God, she put her crutches under her arm. She took a little boy's hand for the first time ever, because all the time he'd been alive, she'd been on crutches, and walked out this conference room.
Wow.
And the guy who was working with, a guy called Mark Davies, this Welsh guy, he said, I don't know, it sounds a bit blasphemous, but he went, Jesus. It looked like pick up your bed and walk. It was just, and I'd never done it before. And it was miraculous to me. That was the first time. And the other lady had no pain. So, yeah, and since then, and my son Anthony, who I travel with all over the world, teaching these hypnosis, we pretty soon discovered that if you could do it with physical pain, you do it with emotional pain. And now we're selling this product all around the world, and we're getting results. People, they said one person put psoriasis in the bullseye, and the woman's skin cleared up. I mean, it's completely crazy. And then we realised that if you can eliminate something, so what we do is put the pain in the target, and we eliminate the pain. But now someone said they want determination or confidence. You can stack the bullseye with confidence. And when they go through the target, it just flood their body with confidence. You know, it's only like what we're doing, it's only, as I said, it's only imagination, isn't it? And so this is only as limited to our imagination, to what you can do with it. And when I do the presentation on the arrow, I say to them, this is a rapid technique. You can do in 5 minutes, but the value of it is not in the speed you can do it. It just happens to be a very powerful technique that doesn't take very long to do. And I honestly, if I could leave a legacy, so to speak, it would be that every doctor, every nurse learned how to do this. The guys that were in A&E the other day on maximum morphine, and the doctors just keep giving them more morphine. They can't give them any more. And they're in agony.
Yeah.
Why would a doctor say, look, let's just try this?
Yep.
It's only words. It's only imagination. What's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that they don't lose their pain. But that is so rare. It's just, for me, and even though it's my thing, it's an amazing thing. And I have no idea how it works. And there'll be people, like they have for the past 30 years as I've been doing this work, there have been people trying to figure out how hypnosis works. And while they've been trying to figure out how it works, I've helped over 30,000 clients.
Just doing it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing about the arrow. Let me tell you this story. I've got 4 sons, and they range from 47 to 16. As I like to jokingly say, that's the power of hypnosis. But my youngest boy, he's 16 years old. But when he was 9, he came home one evening, and we're having our dinner, and we're just around the table, and he's just talking as you normally would about school, you know, football or whatever it was. And he's eating his sausage and mash or whatever it was at the time. And he was telling me, he said, there was a girl in my class, my friend in class. He's only 9, bear in mind. A girl in my class had broken her arm. He said she's had it all put in plaster and a cast. And she was in class and she was crying. He said she was crying because she was in pain. And the school wouldn't give her any more aspirin because she's so young. They'd given her as much as they could give her for the day. He said, and she was crying because she was in pain. He said, I did that thing, what you do, Dad? He said, I took the pain away. And he kept on eating like it was nothing.
That is so cool. That's a great story.
So if my 9-year-old boy can do this, anyone can do it. And that's what I want. I want everyone to learn how to do this stuff. You know, whether you're making a living out of it, or whether you're just a mum, or you're a dad, or you're a teacher, or you're a doctor, just want people to learn how to do it. So,
I'm so with you. Absolutely. That's why I love the podcast, and being able to, share the message. I think everybody needs to learn.
Well, I'll share something with you.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of change workers listen to this. So for me, and I've written it in my book, when I say, you know, in the next sentence, I'm going to teach you how to hypnotize people. I say, don't blink, you'll miss it. And it's this. It's a very simple thing. You create an emotion and you give a suggestion. That's as simple as it is. It's no more difficult. Let me show you something. Let's try something. I You know, this could be egg on my face, but I know it's not going to be.
All right.
So who are the most important people in your life?
Wife and kids.
So how many kids you got?
3.
Boys, girls?
2 girls and a boy.
Okay, what's your boy's name?
Ryan.
Okay, do this for me.
Yep.
Just put your hand out in front of you like that, straight out in front of you. All right, and just look at me, look in the camera, and think about Ryan. Think about that love you feel for him, that he feels for you. Remember when you first saw his face, you felt that love. And feel that love right now. Let it remind you of just how loved you and how brilliant you are as a man, as a father, as a being. See those beautiful girls of yours, feel that love right now. And as you feel that love, I want you to notice that hand's hanging all by itself. Imagine there's nothing you can do about that now. And when you realise there's nothing you can do about it, you can try and get it down before it goes even higher. I want you to push as hard as you can before it goes even higher now. Put some real effort in before it goes even higher. While you're in a trance, not in a trance. Push even harder before it goes even higher. Now something strange is going to happen. Harder you try and get that hand down, the higher the other one's going to go. Push even harder, find the other one lifting now. That's right, it's incredible. There it goes. I'll click my fingers and have it go back to normal, and your mic will go back down on the table. Your hands will drift down, your eyes will close for a split second. When they open, you feel incredible. That's right, total understanding just how loved you are. Now, this is, for me, this is not complex. If I can create an emotion, it's very simple. Just get you to think about your boy, your girls, the people you love.
It's a beautiful thing.
Suggestion. So, you know, all that complex stuff and trying to figure out language patterns, and which is fantastic. It's really interesting. I don't know, you probably heard of him, Adam Eason. He runs his college down in Bournemouth in England. He's a fantastic man. I love him. And he's just getting, I think he's just got the first doctorate in self-hypnosis, the first one, just for him. And I think he's got it now. So he's now Dr. Adam. Anyway, he invited me down to do a presentation to his students, maybe 40 students in the room. And this was back 5-6 years ago. And I know that, you know, we teach language patterns and all these things in these groups. So someone asked me, a student asked me, they said, how important do you think language patterns are? So I said, it's very interesting. I said that if you really know what you're doing, you can do this. And I looked at a woman in the 4th row. She blinked, I blinked. She blinked, I blinked. I slowed my blinking down. Gosh, she's gone.
Yeah.
And I hadn't said a word. And I said, where's the language? You know, it's, once you've set your mind, I think I'm sure you'll back me up on this. But when we step up to hypnotize, the important thing is your expectation and your intent. You know, my intention is you're going to go into a deep trance. My expectation, you're going to be a good subject. In fact, it's another loop that I teach my students. I say, if you're going to step up to hypnotize, hold this thought in your mind. I'm a great hypnotist, you're a great subject. And one of the other things while we're on that subject, if you like, and again, it's come from Erickson, it's not me. I wish they were my words. He was working with a client who had cancer of the jaw. And the client was dying, but he was in agony. And they called Erickson in as a last resort. So he worked with him. And afterwards, the guy had no pain. So someone asked Erickson the question, did you know that you could do that? And Erickson reply was this, and I think for all the people listening who are working with people, I think we should all hold this, because this is my favourite. I think we should all do this. And this is what he said. He said, I had my doubts, but what I had no doubt about was I could keep my doubts to myself. And that is so important in this.
I love that.
I had my doubts, but what I had no doubt about was I could keep my doubts to myself.
I share that with my students. Huh? I share that with my students in my training.
It's just phenomenal. When I first started running my own hypnosis training back in 1999, I had a guy working with me, a guy called Adrian. He's passed away now, but he was a fabulous man. He was working with me, and I'd advertised that I was going to teach the handshake induction. Back in 99, it was the Holy Grail. the handshake induction. And I'd advertised on my paperwork that I'm going to teach handshake induction, but I'd never done one. So again, you can probably see where I'm coming from.
I see a pattern here.
Huh?
I see a pattern.
Yeah. So anyway, the day came. I think it was the third day of the course, and I advertised, today we're going to teach handshake induction. Now, Adrian knew that I'd never done a handshake induction before. So when I said I'm going to teach a handshake induction, he was in the corner shuffling papers, pooing himself in the corner, thinking, knowing I've never done one before. So anyway, I asked this guy to stand up, and he was the biggest guy in the room, about 6'6". He had hands like shovels. So I said, anyway, I just shook his hand, boof, he's in, gone. Statued in, did a few other things, brought him out, sat him down. Everyone thought, fantastic. So I went over to Adrian, and he's still sort of in the corner, and he went, "You went for it then?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "But you didn't know you could do it, did you?" I said, "No." I said, "I had my doubts. What I had no doubt about was I could keep those doubts to myself." And that is such an important lesson for all new students in this. You are going to have your doubts. You're going to think, is this person bright enough? Am I going to remember my words? Am I going to do this, do that? But hold that. Well, that it's a few little things you hold in your mind. One, if you're going to do some therapy, I care about you. I want you to be well. And that other thought, I may have my doubts, but what I must have no doubt about, so I can keep those doubts to myself. Fantastic. Those two things, if you hold those in your heart, keep them in your mind, your ability as a hypnotist will go through the roof.
I agree.
And the other thing, create an emotion, give a suggestion. Emotions. So every opportunity, if you see someone smile, be ready with those direct suggestions. From today, the need for a cigarette will be gone. You slip it in. They laugh, the need to overeat has gone from your body. They start to tear up, every ounce of that irrational fear has gone from your mind. Just be ready with what I call some of these arrows in your quiver. You can just fire one in. Oh yeah.
Emotion, suggestion.
Probably know I love this stuff. I'm going to talk about it forever. Yeah. The hard part is shutting me up.
I love it. Well, and on that note, I could tell we could go on for hours, but it is late by you. You're 6 hours after.
I'm not. I can talk as long as you want, but I know you've got a schedule to run to. But if anyone's interested in my work, tell them about my book, Hypnotherapy. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. And as my son Anthony said to me the other day, because I haven't looked at them, he said the reviews are insane. And people are using that book all around the world, changing people's lives. And that for me is a joy. People I'm never going to meet are going to be free of pain because of an idea I had. I love that, that understanding.
It's a great, trickle down, exponential effect.
Yeah. And as I said, it's none of these techniques in my book are difficult, but they're very powerful. But we have those powers within us. We just got to open our minds up to it. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, as I told our listeners in the intro, I wanted you on because I did hear great things about the Aero Technique, about your book, and those links will be in the show notes at mindflipping.com. Yeah, for this episode. So Freddy Jacquin, thank you so much for your time and for all the changes that you're making throughout the world, not only through your voice, but through your words in print and in every other way. Thank you.
Oh, thanks very much. Can I just mention I'm writing a series of children's books. They're not out yet, but keep an eye out for them. And I'm going to use these techniques in storytelling. So through storytelling, which we've been doing since the beginning of time, hopefully a parent can read to their kid or a kid can read the book and get over their anxieties or anger or fear. So keep an eye out for them. Slip
the suggestions in through stories. I like it.
It's been lovely meeting you and seeing you and talking to you. Hopefully we'll meet in person at one point.
Absolutely. I'll hunt you down. I'll find you in Vegas this August.
That'll be fantastic. I'll look forward to it.
Thanks, Freddy.
Okay. Take care.